You've got to do the work in yourself first. Otherwise, we can't do the work in our practices. It's not possible. It's not possible not to walk the talk, but not just to walk it, but to live it and to be it. And I think that's what creates gravity with the moments we have with people.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be an interesting one. Our guest is the CEO and founder of Ignite Purpose, which focuses on organizations that need to engage their people, rebuild cultures, and create a place where people are better together. All the way from Australia, here is Christina Foxwell. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me. And to your listeners out there, I am so excited to share some of my world with you and hope it will be impactful.
I think it will be, and I'm looking forward to it. And Christina, tell us a little bit about yourself leading up to where you are today.
A good question. I call myself an African living in Australia, married to an Englishman with a Korean son-in-law. And who knows what else my life might be. I'm just a human being who's incredibly passionate about people and people finding their way to be the best they can be. And my background, I have a qualification in pension funds, if that helps anyone out there. And my career has simply evolved. I call myself a learner. I'm a learner of people, so I have worked in human capital, people and performance for the last 25 years. And over the last 11 years, I have run a practice called Ignite Purpose. So thank you for introducing us. And yeah, so my background is about how do we help people be better in the organizations that they're working in, better people, build better communities in their life, and help organizations flourish. And, you know, we're on a trajectory at the moment with our practice, setting up global offices with partners all over the world. And I'm really excited because I think it's time for community. So let me not take all the thunder away from the questions you have today, Michael, but that's just a bit of a taste around who I am.
Lovely, lovely. Well, yeah, I would love the idea of community. This is the Successful Bookkeeper community, and we've banded together all around the world, bookkeepers from all over the world, supporting each other. And we've often told it's one of the most valuable things that we do is providing the opportunity for people to connect in a positive, safe environment and constructive environment to help each other achieve their goals.
Well, that's what life is about, right?
It is. It is. I'd love to hear, just a personal question about your own journey. You went from working in the industry of people management and performance and talent management to your own business. What do you think were your big obstacles along the way, and how did you overcome them?
Look, I think I have a lot of courage, and I knew I needed to do this practice, this business. My husband's a chartered accountant, so for all the all the bookkeepers out there, I gave him a heart attack several times along the way. But I think one of the obstacles was I dreamed big, and it's probably turned it into an opportunity. I knew I needed to do something different, but wasn't sure what different was. Yet started with purpose. So when I started this practice, I had a good vision for what I wanted to do. And the first 18 months of this practice was probably the most challenging I've ever experienced in my life, in the sense that I was really struggling for my worthiness, because coming from a corporate role where I'd led people, I was an executive, and then kind of being tired of that, really burnt out, thought I could just step into an account managing role, which is never a good idea. And then starting my practice, I had kind of didn't have enough juice in my tank, if that makes any sense to you. And then financially, I'm so grateful for my husband, who is an amazing finance lead. He carried me in the practice in some ways for the first 2 years. We were generating revenue, but it was definitely not the kind of $250,000 salary that I'd been used to before. And it was incredibly interesting because the hours I worked was out of this world. I was working 70, 80 hours a week and just incredibly determined. And I kind of wore myself out the first 18 months, because instead of me stepping into this work peaceful, I stepped into this work proving. And those are two very different things, which I'm so grateful I understand today. But if we step into our work proving, it means we're trying to prove to everybody else that we are good enough to do this job, good enough to run a practice. And as soon as I'm in the good enough wrestle, it's a wrestle for my life versus being present and knowing what I have and bringing what I have and doing it at pace and probably being imperfect, but learning every day. Two very different mindsets, and I think very different ways to run your business and to make it a success. So I got booked off from work for like 3 months because I'd burnt out, and I said to my doctor, how can I not work? This is my business, this is my passion. And she said to me, look, you're either going to rest or your children will put you in a coffin, and you can choose because your body can't take it. And I rested, and it was the first time in my life where I was forced to rest. And for any high achievers out there, that's like a prison sentence in some ways, but it was a gift. And it was a gift because I started to look at my life differently, and I came back and everything changed because I was restful. So I think 3 things: had to learn that I wasn't needing to wrestle for my worthiness, had to learn that even the best plans that you have when you start your business might not work, but you just got to stay in it and maybe shift the way you're thinking about yourself whilst running that business. And the third thing is rest.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Wouldn't it be amazing if your bookkeeping business ran like a world-class franchise, like a Starbucks or an Apple store? One where the business literally runs itself. You and your staff would have documented training, systems, and processes to find the clients, price the clients, convert the clients, onboard the clients, service the clients, manage the clients, find the staff, qualify the staff, hire the staff, train the staff, manage the staff. Whew, wouldn't that be a lot easier? But then what if alongside that you had a community of other bookkeeping business owners that you could mastermind with, ask questions, support, and be supported along your journey? That would likely accelerate the success of your business, right? And what if you didn't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to purchase the franchise, pay franchise fees, give up control and ownership of your business? Instead, just pay a simple monthly fee starting at $295 a month to access everything you need to scale your business. Systems for the sales, marketing, hiring, and technical bookkeeping, workflow and CRM software to manage it all, and a community to support you. That's Pure Bookkeeping. For over a decade, we've been helping thousands of bookkeepers grow their business by providing the systems and processes so you can run your business like a world-class business. Stop the trial and error game and start implementing the proven systems that will give you back your freedom, increase your income, and bring you peace of mind. Check out purebookkeeping.com for more information. That's purebookkeeping.com. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. That's remarkable. I love just the transparency, the inside story of what you went through. I hear bits and pieces in there for myself. I'm sure our listener does as well. And I'm curious, when did you feel or see that was tipping the other way. I mean, you had the rest. Sounds like it was a gift, and a very challenging gift, but a gift in that you got the rest and rejuvenation that you needed. But what happened after that?
I think I started opening myself up for community within my client space. See, when I'm proving, I will need to show up, be perfect, and I was wrestling. But when I started just being more peaceful and connected, the doors opened for me. The conversations I had were good, and business rolled in, literally. But I also realized that if you keep showing up and you start looking at your world differently, and you still show up, but you might not be showing up tired, exhausted, and frazzled, but you show up peaceful, rejuvenated, connected, doors start opening for you. And work just did pour in. And as work poured in, I was on a new learning journey of showing up and learning about how to do what I was called to do. And yeah, I mean, it snowballed. I actually went so far the other way that my husband sat me down 3 years later and said, honey, you are traveling 150 days out of 365, and we need you. We can't do this. We can't do this as a family. And I was like, okay. Then I cried again. How do you stop the flow of something you absolutely love? Or let me rephrase that. How do you find a new flow and remember why you were doing it in the first place? And it created, my son went through a lot of bullying and emotional trauma, and I needed to be there. But actually one of those moments that I had was realizing that my trauma in my life was chasing me again in a different way. And without me feeling like I was proving, I was now running so hard again with the momentum that I'd created, that I needed to look at myself differently and start healing myself, so that I wasn't just doing the work, but the work, it wasn't just in my head, it was in my heart. And so transformation truly catapulted in me from that place. I was diagnosed with PTSD actually in one of my son's family therapy sessions because of how I wanted him to show up and face his life. And it was a catalyst of change moment again. And I know we have them. We can call them God moments. We can call them moments of being called to look at our life differently. And so, it really happened for me at that stage, and that was 5 years ago. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah, it's a remarkable story. I mean, how was your son?
My son now works with me as my apprentice. We are a family practice. He's at university. He has learned so much about himself. I'm so proud of him. He's come from a dark place to showing up for his life. And I know he's got lots to learn, like we all do. But my goodness, how amazing to see a young man transform from someone too scared to go to a coffee shop for a cup of coffee to being in rooms with me where we sit with executives, and he's observing and he's providing such wise counsel and insight. That to me is transformation, isn't it?
It totally is. I mean, it's remarkable. And I think it's very relevant to our listener in that, what you were dealing with was, I mean, such an interesting story, going from, trying to figure out your business, not having, trying to squeeze something out of the business that wasn't there really,
Yes.
or you couldn't see it or grab onto it, and then burning yourself out to the flow, overload of work, unlimited opportunity, but then another part of your life kind of going into a missing, right? Letting that go, and then really having your son, in a family scenario. I know for sure our listener deals with this, maybe not in the exact same circumstances, but you're trying to figure out your business. You get you get it figured out, new problems arise, and then there's fallout from that, and then you've got family, which is such an important piece of all of our lives that you're needed for. It's like you're being pulled apart, in multiple directions.
Absolutely. So someone said to me, Christina, do you find balance? And I'm rephrasing this. I have presence. So when I work on something, I'm working on it. When I'm with my husband and we go for our walks on a weekend, I hold his hand and I'm incredibly grateful he's with me. When I see my son, and we're very similar, so sometimes it's sparks and flames, but we've learned how to be in this space together, and I look at him and I see him. So what I'm saying is it's presence. It's a moment's choice to be present. It's this week, for example, I'm traveling interstate not interstate, in country. So I'm traveling away from the family for 5 nights, and I'm being gracious and kind to myself as much as I can, and check in with the family. But this is focus time and presence time. And so I think we've got to learn how to be present for the moments we have. It changes things.
How does someone be present if they don't know how to be?
It's a good question again. They have to start training their mind to choose to be in this moment. And I do practice mindfulness and meditation and deep connection moments with myself, and I think that creates presence. I think when I don't have presence, I'm living in the past or I'm worried about the future. I'm not here, and for example, I'm a grandmother. When my grandson holds me and he says, I love you, Glammy, because that's my name, I listen to his breath. I feel his arms around me. I'm with him in that moment. It's a choice and it's a mental practice. We have to do it. I think this world that we're living in it's creating ADHD in us as people. We have got mobile phones. We've got one meeting to the next. We run from one person to the next. We've got 100 things on our schedule. We don't clear the schedule. We don't step into peacefulness. We don't make time. And I think it's time for a presence starts with a deeper connection with me. And that's very hard to do. You see, because if I don't have a deeper connection with me, how do I have a deeper connection with those around me? And how do I build the communities in my life that sustain me? Some of the research we've done around this, and I'm sorry if I'm prattling on, so you can pull me in at any.
Please do. I love the story.
Is we're suffering from acute loneliness in our world. So we think success is a business that has money in the bank and, new clients on the books and busyness, but that's not what we were made for. We were made for moments of community, connection with people. In actual fact, that's what gives us joy and sustains our life. But we overload sometimes, and we're running so fast that presence just doesn't happen. And presence helps us be in community with ourselves, our family, our colleagues, our team, our clients. But presence always starts with me. So, loneliness can be shifted in me when I have a connection and a relationship with myself and then with those that I love. And I think that's incredibly important. Family for me is, without family, we are lonely humans. And family might not be blood family. It might be friend families, smaller communities, people that stand next to us. When I go have a big day, like yesterday, it was my wedding anniversary, and my husband sent me the most beautiful message, and I sent him a message back. I'm so grateful. And I said, babe, can you pray for me today? Because I really just want to be peaceful. And he sent me back, I already did. You're going to be just perfect and just be you. And how beautiful is that, right? So I think coming back to presence starts with us. we don't have to be lonely in our practices. We can have our family, we can have our communities. My clients often become my friends because I see them and they see me, which is connection. And I think that's so critical. The work that I do, I live. And I often say to our partners around the world, if, because we're about to go into the US in the next year or so and build partners there, is you've got to do the work in yourself first. Otherwise, we can't do the work in our practices. It's not possible. It's not possible not to walk the talk, but not just to walk it, but to live it and to be it. And I think that's what creates gravity with the moments we have with people.
So many things you're saying, so true, and definitely connect with some of the things that have been coming through my mind. And with regard to community, I just read an article on a study that was done in people's well-being, mental well-being, just by going out and watching a live, not even playing sports, but going out and watching a live sporting event. The people who've done that are much happier and productive in their life. And it's, there's probably many things that we could look at as to why. But when you were talking, I'm thinking, our life is so connected to a phone that I don't even have to leave the house. I can order groceries. I can buy online shopping things. I don't have to go anywhere outside of my house, which is really cool. However, I don't think we're even beginning to understand the implications of I'm limiting my opportunities to actually be in community, in my community, which is, that's going to have an impact.
Absolutely. And this is the challenge, right? So if you think of mobile phones connect us, so they connect families from all over the world. But if I don't start connecting with the person around me, it's isolation.
Mm-hmm.
It's isolation. And I think business owners, if I speak to your community of bookkeepers and small business owners, you got to find community. You are going to suffer from acute loneliness, which is part of the problem I had initially in my practice, was I didn't have a community around me. Because often we feel that, we suffer from scarcity and the fear of partnering with people, or, just try something, set good expectations. Don't expect perfection. Find your tribe, or I love what Sean Achor says in his book, Big Potential. Find your fireflies. Light up together, because we've got greater potential together than what we've got alone.
So true. And what I would say about that as well, we've had lots of conversations on this podcast about just the act of networking, going out and meeting people, and how misunderstood that is. But I've never heard the way you frame it, which is I'm proving, or I'm showing up proving, or I'm showing up peaceful, which I think is a nice frame, powerful frame for networking as well. It's like, I would imagine the fear of networking or meeting new people is because we're showing up proving. That we need to prove ourselves, or are we good enough? And if we show up just peaceful, like I'm just showing up. I'm here. I am who I am. I don't need to be anybody. I don't need to be anywhere except right here. And I have no idea, have little expectation of what I'm going to get but maybe just the expectation of like being able to connect with people, and that's enough, would really shift the context of meeting new people.
Wouldn't it just? Because when I'm proving, I'm not listening. How's that for really challenging? I'm not listening.
You got it. And think about that. If you're not listening, well, people probably won't want to know you because you're not listening to them. So, interesting.
Because even if you're saying, so tell me more about what you do, are you really listening to hear them, or are you only listening to see what you can do with what you're hearing? And sometimes we've just got to be present when I say, well, share a little bit about you and be really curious. you see, if I'm always listening to just see how I can position myself within what you're saying, I'll miss some of the most beautiful nuances of seeing someone. And they'll feel that. They'll feel sold to and pushed into and uncomfortable. But if I was just really curious and willing to be me, can you imagine?
Well, I can. And I think your story of going from the transition to in a flow where business was flowing, it's, it's connected to that for sure. I can just hear that from my listener right now, showing up, proving, which I've shown up proving. I mean, we're human beings, but, I can relate completely to places and times where I'm proving, and I'm not present, even when I'm doing podcasts. I mean, we've got 30 minutes typically, and I've got to figure out, what if I don't ask the right question? Will this be interesting to our listener? Like, there's always these thoughts going through my head, and when they're there, I'm not listening.
No, you're not. Neither am I.
And so it's such an interesting frame. I just love the frame where you've said, like, if we can work to be present, and really it's probably not the right way to say it, but be present and find a way to train ourselves, starting anywhere for our listeners, starting wherever our listener is on that journey, but getting more and more present, and then just bring that to your work, to your people, to your family. That in itself will be a transformational experience for all of those areas of life.
And you know what? Absolutely. So there's so many ways to get present, but to find a way to offload some of the stuff.
Yes, that stuff. the 4-letter stuff.
Yeah, that you are carrying around with you. That's pushing you. You see, I used my story, Michael, as my fuel. And I try to outrun my story I needed to do that by proving versus accepting my story and my life as a gift just for what it is. And looking at myself from a place of love. It's huge.
So much so. Really remarkable. Love that. Let's talk a little bit about, now I kind of get the sense that, you bring this to organizations, it's going to be transformational for workplace cultures.
Absolutely.
And so maybe let's talk a little bit about that. And I think our listener can get a sense of right away how this impacts them, even if you're in a solo practice and it's just you. I mean, this starts here with yourself and then expands. If you have staff, well, bringing some of this to your staff, it's going to be remarkable in their experience of work and how they deal with customers and deal with their work. These are, and I feel like we've probably only touched the tip of the iceberg, and yet it's maybe a big piece of the iceberg.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can you imagine a workplace where people show up, they are imperfect, but they're willing to try, where they don't compete with each other, where they are learning from each other, where they put problems in front of each other, not between each other, and there's a lower ebb of judgment. I call it lower ebb because I don't know if we could, as human beings, can remove it altogether, but my goodness, it's learning how to navigate the fear we have of each other, because people fear each other, and then learning how to create honesty and grace and a community and a connection with each other that is founded in love. And I use that word very boldly. I've had CEOs going, you cannot have love in the workplace. How will we have honest conversations? I said, that's exactly how. By not seeing your people for who they aren't, but seeing them just for who they are. A human being in struggle, wanting to be better, wanting to be accepted, and connecting from a place of generosity, perspective, clarity, kindness, We can create a workplace like that. We absolutely can. In actual fact, it's a robust workplace. It's a workplace where we talk about the things that actually matter, where we are learning about ourselves every single day. It's an evolving place. I call it the hive. It's like a beehive where we know who we are, we work on who we are, we understand our roles, we understand how we're contributing together, we're passionate about why we're here, we recognize that we can speak to each other when we see fear and negative emotions that are blocking our ability to connect with each other. And the leadership team go first. And it's absolutely possible. Because what it creates is, I call it a juicy workplace. It's not boring. It's not fear underpinned, but it's underpinned with a sense of belonging and a sense of community.
Mm. And so I would imagine the starting place for anyone who goes on this journey of transforming their workplace, it starts with themselves.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about. And then how do you bring that to others once you've done it for yourself or worked on? I mean, it's not like it's just like click, we've done that, but you've started that motion and where it's like, yeah, we're slowing down, we're getting into quiet and we're present. Bringing that to others.
We teach people. We teach people the cornerstones of self-acceptance and of being better humans. We teach people through the work we do. We teach people language. We teach people connection. We have to actually teach. I love that Brené Brown says this in her work. She says you got to be able to create definitions so the mind can wrap its head around what you are saying. And so I go in and I teach definitions of the hive, and any leader can do it. And then you teach your people what that means by practicing it and working on it, and by showing up again and again, and by shifting the cadence of how and when we show up and what happens in those moments. And we learners. And I wish it, Michael, I could tell you it just takes, oh, good, ping, and it happens. No, it's a good journey of, that initial journey is 12 to 18 months of getting in there and understanding and connecting and flexing around connection. Because I'll share this with you, if I'm so used to protecting and isolating, how much do I have to go on a journey to start connecting and being present? It's a journey, right? And I think, get a good coach for your team. Get a good coach that's walk the talk, that they can walk alongside you guys. Be curious, because you can't do this on your own again. We need somebody who is not in it to help us see it. Because when we're all in it, we don't always see where we can grow to. Which is why I have a coach. My beautiful coach sits in Canada. He's Canadian, and it's just an absolute gift for me to have him walk next to me and shine the light where I need to see.
So true.
It's true.
So true. I mean, for our listener, that would be a great place. Many of them are solo or small businesses, small teams. Would be start with getting a coach for yourself that can take you in this direction. Many people are like, "Oh, I need a business coach," right? Yeah. In a sense, many people actually need a life coach and someone to help them with this component, and then it can evolve beyond, because you said the core is the individual, the person. And if our listener wants to impact some of these things in their business but haven't done the work, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be challenging. And so that can be its own transformational experience if someone hasn't had a coach before, doesn't know what it is. It's one of those things. If you're going to climb a mountain, you're going to need a guide. You're going to need someone to help you train for it and get ready for it and understand so you can do it well. I mean, anybody can just rock up to the bottom of a mountain, but you might not live getting up there or have a really tough and difficult time. Not to say that that's a bad thing. You might learn a lot too, but so much can be gained from someone just listening and not in it, as you said, which I think is powerful. And this conversation is very refreshing.
Yeah.
This is what we stand behind. We want for the world, for our listeners and for our community members, is for them to build a business that they love and to have that business give them the rewards that fuel a life that they love.
Absolutely. I used to say to my husband, I'm working so hard, but I'm not working for us. And now I do. I think it's in my nature to show up and work hard, although I don't find it's work. I just find this is my life. But I do it for us. I do it for us, and I'm happy. And I'm so grateful that I am on this journey. I think to your point, I want to go back to that mountain. If someone's standing next to me, there's been some research around this, the mountain doesn't look so steep. When I stand on my own, the mountain looks like a solid wall of mountain, rock face. How am I ever going to get up there? But when someone's standing next to me, the path is clear. And that's why connection and community is one of the biggest things we need in order for us to survive and thrive in our world and our practices, without doubt.
Remarkable. This has been refreshing. I absolutely love the conversation, and I would love for you to share, if our listener wanted to learn more about you or get more resources from you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I put a lot of content out on social media to help people grow and develop. So please reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's Christina Foxwell. If you want to hit our website, it's www.ignitepurpose.com.au, because our head office is Australia. If they're based in other parts of the world, we've got a team in Canada, a team in the UK, but, hit us up here in Australia and connect in with me. I'd love to have you part of our community. Even if you just watch the stuff we put out and it touches your heart, that's why we're here.
I absolutely love it. Christina, this has been absolutely fantastic. We will have links, of course, to those resources in our show notes. And on behalf of our listener, I want to thank you for your generosity in coming on the show and sharing your wisdom with us today.
It's been my great pleasure. Thank you for creating this platform. And to everybody out there, choose peacefulness.
Thank you. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.